Have you ever wondered what it feels like to hear a cry so full of longing that it pierces straight through your heart? Deep in the early morning mist of the Blue Ridge Mountains, Luna, a rescued bobcat, sat pacing in her quarantine pen, her low, rasping yowl echoing across the sanctuary. A sound so haunting, it seemed to carry a question no one could answer. She had been brought in only days before, found trapped in a barn on the outskirts of a small rural community, thin, frightened, and utterly alone. And from the moment her crate door opened, she had not stopped calling into the void. Daniel Harper, the sanctuary's head caretaker, watched quietly from the gravel path, carrying a bucket of fresh rabbit and quail, hoping the scent and sight of food might calm her. But Luna barely glanced at it, her amber eyes fixed far beyond the fences toward the distant tree line. Dr. Emily Ross, the sanctuary veterinarian, had already confirmed that Luna was physically healthy, her blood panels and checkups revealing no injuries or infections, yet the desperation in her cry grew with each passing hour. A sound layered with grief, confusion, and an almost human longing. Daniel knelt beside the pen, whispering gently, reassuring her that she was safe, that no harm would come, yet the answer he sought would not be found in food or comfort alone. Something deeper, a connection to family lost or hidden, seemed to lie just beyond the reach of the sanctuary, waiting to be discovered. Have you ever felt the quiet tension of a forest at dawn, when every rustle of leaves and distant bird calls seems charged with anticipation? Daniel Harper moved carefully along the mist-covered paths of Golden Oak Wildlife Sanctuary, his eyes never leaving Luna as she continued her pacing, her yowl a steady thread of despair that wove through the trees and up into the mountains. The sanctuary itself was waking slowly, the scent of damp pine needles and fresh earth mingling with the faint aroma of breakfast cooking in the caretaker cabin, yet none of the routine comforts could reach Luna. Daniel had spent decades observing North America's native predators, learning to read the subtle flick of an ear, the twitch of a tail, and the tension in a shoulder. But even his practiced eyes could not ignore the deep distress etched into every movement of Luna's live body. Her tawny coat glimmered in the early sunlight, dappled with dark spots, her ears tufted like delicate flags. But it was her gaze, fixed and intense toward the distant tree line, that spoke of something missing, something beyond the sanctuary fences that she longed for.
Dr. Emily Ross approached, a clipboard in hand, her expression a mix of concern and quiet fatigue. The tests were all normal. The bobcat was strong, hydrated enough, teeth intact. Yet Daniel knew this was not about illness or injury. This was something primal, a call from a mother lost or separated from her young. He whispered softly, trying to match her rhythm, trying to offer reassurance through sound alone. But Luna would not be soothed, her cries rising and falling with a purpose that he could feel in his chest. For 3 long days, Daniel had observed the patterns, the grooves worn into the earth by her pacing, the way she paused at precise points along the southern fence line, her body language suggesting a memory or knowledge that he did not yet have. The sanctuary was a place of calm for most residents, yet Luna's energy seemed to fracture the space, creating an undercurrent of urgency that Daniel could not ignore. He thought back to the reports from the animal control officers who had trapped her, how they described her as a menace, a threat to property. But that description could not account for the depth of attachment and the subtle signs he now observed. The way her posture hinted at recent motherhood, the slight distension of her belly, the careful way she placed each paw as though following a remembered route.
Every instinct in Daniel urged him to look beyond the immediate, to understand what Luna could not say with words, and he realized that the answer would not be found within the sanctuary walls, but out in the fragmented lands she had once called home. That afternoon, he prepared for the journey back to the capture site, the 2-hour drive through landscapes shifting from protected forests to open farmland, where human expansion pressed against the wild and harsh lines of fence and machinery. He considered the risks, the unknowns that awaited him in the dilapidated barns and cluttered yards, but the drive was propelled by something stronger than caution, an empathy and determination born from years of witnessing the fragile balance between life and survival. Arriving at the property, Daniel noted every detail: the rusted cars, the piles of lumber, the half-finished house, all telling stories of neglect and human preoccupation, yet hiding within the shadows was the truth he sought. Mr. Clayton, the property owner, appeared wary and defensive, his eyes narrowing with suspicion as Daniel introduced himself and explained his purpose. Yet the subtle micro-expressions betrayed a flicker of guilt when he glanced toward the barn, an acknowledgement unspoken yet unmistakable. Daniel observed closely, noting the hesitation and the way the man's hands lingered on the doorframe. He understood that within the gloom of the barn could lie a secret that Luna's cries had been hinting at all along, a lost connection waiting to be restored. Every step of the investigation built upon the tension of the morning, the anticipation of discovery, and the hope that whatever was hidden could be retrieved, not just for the sake of procedure, but for the fragile thread of family and life that hung in the balance, waiting for Daniel's careful, determined hands to guide it back towards safety and restoration. Have you ever felt the weight of a secret pressing down so heavily that every step toward the truth seems both urgent and uncertain? Daniel Harper stood at the edge of the cluttered yard, his boots crunching over scattered gravel and rusted machinery, eyes locked on the dilapidated barn where Luna had first been trapped, and he could feel the tension thrumming in the air, thick with dust and the faint scent of hay. Mr. Clayton, the property owner, emerged from the shadows of a shed, grease-stained overalls marking him as a man accustomed to labor rather than scrutiny, his gaze wary and guarded, yet every subtle movement betrayed unease, a hesitation that Daniel, with decades of experience reading both human and animal behavior, could not ignore. Daniel introduced himself calmly, explaining the situation, the urgency of finding Luna's lost companion. Yet Mr. Clayton's tone was dismissive, filled with the defensive pride of someone who had been caught unprepared for scrutiny. Still, when his eyes flicked toward the back of the barn, Daniel noticed the micro-expression of guilt, a fleeting tightening around the mouth, a slight shift in posture, clues that hinted at the hidden truth. He moved closer, careful to maintain authority without provoking confrontation, aware that any misstep could jeopardize what he was about to discover. Inside the barn, shadows pooled in corners, hiding old pallets, piles of debris, and faint traces of fur clinging to the wire cages that had once confined Luna. Then, faintly, a high-pitched chittering sound reached Daniel's ears, delicate and urgent, almost a whisper carried over the dry scent of straw and dust, yet unmistakably alive. His heart quickened as he realized the sound belonged to a juvenile bobcat, alone, frightened, and waiting for its mother. Mr. Clayton hesitated, shifting uneasily, denying knowledge at first, but Daniel's calm insistence, tempered with the quiet authority of experience, slowly coaxed the truth to the surface. The juvenile was Orion, Luna's son, trapped once his mother had been removed, a victim of human greed and carelessness. And Daniel knew that without immediate action, the young bobcat's chances of survival would diminish with every passing hour. He negotiated with Mr. Clayton, offering a modest sum to secure Orion's release, using both compassion and firmness. And in that moment, the tension in the barn seemed to crystallize. A mixture of fear, greed, and relief suspended in the air like dust motes in the morning light. Once Orion was safely placed in the transport carrier, Daniel could feel the palpable shift in energy, a hope rekindled that Luna's desperate cries would finally be answered. The drive back to Golden Oak Wildlife Sanctuary was quiet, except for the occasional soft chirp of Orion from the passenger seat, each sound a reminder of the fragile life he now carried. And Daniel's mind was already working through the careful protocols needed to introduce mother and child, to ensure that the reunion would not only succeed, but heal the wounds of separation and fear.
The sanctuary came into view as the sun dipped low, casting long golden shadows over the grass, and Daniel felt the first glimmer of relief, knowing that the painstaking observations, the careful reading of behaviors, and the risk-laden journey had all led to this critical moment where hope could finally begin to replace despair. Every step forward now required patience and precision, the quiet understanding that in the delicate balance of nature, the bond between a mother and her offspring could not be rushed, and that the rewards of careful dedication would be measured in the soft touches, the tentative chirps, and the eventual joyful reunion that would restore not just life, but a sense of wholeness to Luna and her son.
Have you ever witnessed a moment where fear and hope collide so completely that every heartbeat feels stretched across time? Daniel Harper carefully carried Orion into the sanctuary, the young bobcat trembling but alive, each soft chirp a fragile plea for comfort that mirrored the low, mournful yows of Luna still pacing in quarantine pen 4. The staff moved with quiet efficiency, clearing the area and preparing for the delicate process of reuniting mother and child, understanding that any misstep could provoke aggression, stress, or rejection. Yet Daniel trusted his instincts, honed over decades of observing the intricate behaviors of North America's native predators. As the carrier door clicked open, Orion hesitated, sniffing the air, sensing the familiar scent of sanctuary pine, damp earth, and most importantly, the presence of Luna, whose pacing slowed instantly, her golden eyes locking on the small figure emerging from the box. In that instant, the air seemed to shift, tension giving way to recognition, grief dissolving into relief, and Luna's rasping cries transformed into a sound Daniel had never heard before, a sharp, jubilant trill that resonated with joy and release. She rushed the fence, paws pounding against the mesh, not in aggression, but in an urgent, desperate desire to be close to her son. And Daniel, whispering softly to Dr. Emily Ross, guided the staff to release Orion fully, allowing the reunion to unfold naturally. The moment was electric, a raw display of instinct, memory, and the unbreakable bond of family as Luna collapsed onto her side, welcoming Orion into her fur, grooming him frantically, washing away the lingering scent of fear and captivity, while Orion responded instinctively, chirping and kneading, burying his small face into her warmth.
The sanctuary seemed to hold its breath, the silence that had been filled with Luna's sorrow now replaced by a tangible peace, a harmony restored as mother and child clung to one another, their bond reaffirmed against the backdrop of pine-scented air and golden sunlight. Weeks passed, and Luna's transformation was remarkable. Her once dull, dusty coat regained its luster, her appetite returned, and her strength grew as she moved with the confidence of a mother whose family was whole once more. Orion thrived under her care, exploring, playing, learning the ways of the forest under her watchful eye, yet always returning to her side for guidance and comfort, their connection deepening with every shared movement and soft sound. And then, the sanctuary staff noticed subtle changes.
Luna's appetite intensifying, her rounded belly hinting at another life growing within. A quick, stress-free ultrasound revealed 5 healthy kittens, a testament to her resilience and determination, surviving not only the trauma of captivity, but also the uncertainty of loss. Daniel and Dr. Emily Ross watched with awe and relief, understanding that Luna's desperate cries had not only been for Orion, but for the future she carried. A fierce drive to protect and nurture life that transcended the limits of circumstance. The sanctuary, bathed in the warmth of early spring sunlight, became a space of renewal and hope, where the cycle of life continued uninterrupted, and Daniel could finally breathe, knowing that every risk taken, every careful observation, and every act of courage had led to this moment of profound restoration. A living testament to the strength of family, instinct, and the indomitable will of nature. Have you ever seen life triumph so completely over adversity that it leaves you breathless with awe and gratitude? As spring unfolded over Golden Oak Wildlife Sanctuary, the air sweet with new growth and the scent of wildflowers, Luna gave birth to 5 healthy, squirming bobcat kittens beneath the shelter of a hollow log, her golden eyes half closed in contentment as she groomed them gently, each tiny mew a soft echo of life renewed. Orion, now strong and confident, sat nearby like a vigilant sentinel, learning the rhythms of care and protection from his mother while never intruding, his large ears swiveling at every sound, alert to the smallest disturbance, yet comforted by the presence of family. Daniel Harper watched from a distance, binoculars in hand, feeling the profound weight of everything that had led to this moment. The long nights of pacing, the cries of loss, the journey to the capture site, and the delicate negotiation that had returned Orion to safety. The sanctuary was quiet but alive, each rustle of leaves and distant bird call punctuating the harmony of life that had been almost stolen by human greed and circumstance. Luna thrived in her restored family, her once dull coat now rich with golden flecks, her movements filled with strength and grace, and her maternal instincts guiding both Orion and the new litter as they explored, tumbled, and learned under her watchful eye. The bond between mother and offspring was palpable, a living testament to memory, instinct, and the enduring power of love in the animal kingdom. A reminder that even in the harshest conditions, life seeks connection, safety, and the continuation of family. Daniel reflected on the countless sacrifices, the careful observations, and the quiet courage it had taken to bring this family back together, knowing that the moment he witnessed transcended any monetary value or recognition, existing instead as a pure, unbroken thread of hope. Over the following weeks, the sanctuary became a classroom of life and learning, the kittens growing rapidly under Luna's care, exploring their world with playful curiosity, while Orion balanced the role of big brother, gentle yet protective, embodying the resilience and adaptability that Daniel had always admired in the species. The story of Luna, Orion, and their kittens became more than just a tale of rescue. It was a narrative of survival, devotion, and the profound intelligence and emotional capacity of wild animals, highlighting the importance of respecting their space, understanding their needs, and protecting their habitats. As the sun set behind the rolling hills, casting long golden shadows across the sanctuary, Daniel felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that the bonds restored here would endure, and that these animals would carry forward their heritage, some eventually returning to the wild, others serving as ambassadors for their species, yet all forever marked by the chance they were given to live fully, safely, and loved. In that moment of quiet reflection, surrounded by the soft sounds of kittens exploring, Luna's gentle grooming, and Orion's alert presence, Daniel understood the essence of his work, the creation of new beginnings, the safeguarding of life, and the celebration of the unyielding force of family and resilience. A story that would inspire anyone who witnessed it to honor, protect, and cherish the natural world and the creatures who inhabit it.